You are live on 98.9 Northwest FM. This is the Tuesday Review. I am Nathan, as always, joined by James. How you going, James? What's made you happy in the last week?
Just had a long weekend, so pretty good.
That's always good. Joined by Callum. How you going, Callum? What's made you happy in the last week?
I'll try to keep it short, but number one, I bought a 4K player after getting FOMO, after seeing James's 4K player, and then the universe kept sending me signs. But long story short, we watched a bunch of 4Ks over the long weekend, and that was really great. We had a few drinks and watched Singing in the Rain, which Nathan had never seen. And I love that movie so much. It's such
How good is it, Nathan?
It's good.
It's such a great movie to watch when you've had a few drinks
if
as
there's
well.
if there's a classic cinema up in heaven, that's probably the movie they'd play.
Yeah.
Because it has a bit of everything for everyone. It's got the songs, it's got the humor, it's got very modern humor.
It is very modern,
It holds up.
And then we watched back to back, basically, of The Post and All the President's Men on 4K.
Nice.
So that made me happy, just watching movies.
Yeah, as for me, what made me happy this weekend was we went to the Jazz Lab and we saw Braz Jazz. People who follow us on social media would have seen a little clip as an indicator of the kind of music we saw on Saturday night.
Like funky jazz.
Kind of.
Well, Braz Jazz, a band.
Yeah, it's a group of musicians. Half of them are from Brazil. So it's cool. Brazilian jazz.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the pianist especially was my favorite. He was on fire.
Yeah.
And and the drummer's an old man, but he didn't miss a beat. Yeah. It's always it's always good when you see these especially in these jazz clubs. A lot of these musicians will be like 80, 90 years old.
Oh, and they just keep
they don't
I don't
miss a
think he
beat.
was like 80 or 90, but yeah, he
he was at least 70.
Yeah, he was slamming those drums. It was great.
He didn't miss a beat. So we saw Jack Earl on the piano, Yael Zamir on the flute, Jorge Albuquerque on the bass, Danny Meyer on the vocals, and Carlos Ferreira, the band leader and the percussionist and drummer.
Nice.
And he was very good.
It was awesome.
We had a great time. Support your local jazz club, everyone. Our local here is the Jazz Lab up in Brunswick. And it's such a cheap night out. Like, obviously we're not sponsored.
Yeah.
This sounds like a sponsorship, but we're not sponsored. No. But it's usually it's $20 to get in. They play music every night of the week. It's a cheap night out with the boys.
Same with your local independent cinema. Support them if you can.
Did the Jazz Lab, the new section, open up yet?
No,
still
not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Well, not yet. Not that we've heard yet.
Yeah.
But hopefully soon. And then they can have eventually 2 bands running every single night of the week. Support your local live music. Yeah. So that made me happy. I guess we'll get straight into it.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of things to talk about tonight. What do you want to talk about first?
I don't know. Does it really matter? I don't think it really matters. At least in my opinion, doesn't matter in this case. Because I like these movies about the same.
Really? Okay.
And neither of them were particularly...
Interesting.
Well, I guess we'll start with the movie that we've probably considered mid.
Oh, okay.
The most mid.
I consider them both mid.
The less episodes that need
well, okay, which ones did you consider?
How to Make a Killing is the most mid.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. We'll start there, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it's... What's his name's kind
Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell, who was kind of the darling for a little bit, and is he falling off just a little bit?
I think it's not he's falling off. It's that he hit so big, and he has so many movies and shows coming out all in a quick succession.
It's desaturated.
And it's
too saturated.
It's like oversaturation. And I like him. I think he's cool, but he's not an actor who I'm like, oh, it's Glenn Powell. It's going to be good, and I'm going to like him in it.
This is where he separates from his mentor, Tom Cruise, right?
Yeah, but to be fair, even James would say before the Tom Cruising, even James was like Tom Cruise is hit or miss,
Yeah,
well, I still maintain that. Just because
that's fair.
You guys are too forgiving.
Yeah, no, and that is fair. All right, I'll grant you, Tom Cruise has some shit films in his filmography, but I think the difference is Tom Cruise is generally not oversaturated in the market.
No, that's true.
No, especially the last few years where he's just been doing Mission Impossible every few years.
Yeah.
So it's that's his project.
Whereas Glenn Powell is everywhere.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. And like I said, I like him, but he's not someone who gets me excited to see a movie. No. And I've never seen him in something where I'm like, he's so amazing.
Especially when, like, now he's in everything, you kind of question whether or not maybe he should be a little bit pickier with what he's taking on. Like, surely he's
Yeah.
at least an in-demand actor. I don't know. Money's money.
No, I
but-
mean he's getting all these big
Yeah.
projects and he's becoming a big
Yeah.
name. So good on him. I mean, I like it. Like I think he's
Yeah.
good, but
He's a good. I think that his best characteristic, he just looks good on camera.
Yeah,
So-
he's a movie star.
Yeah, he's a movie star. That's
yeah.
right. So like, his performances, he's not as good an actor as Tom Cruise, but he's also younger and he also hasn't worked. I think Tom Cruise was lucky enough that like he had gotten to work with Stanley Kubrick, he'd gotten to work with Scorsese, like a whole bunch of Spielberg. He's worked with a whole bunch of really interesting directors, and that's allowed him to learn what it means to be an actor in multiple different ways. Whereas Glenn Powell is still relatively early in his journey. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would argue he's still learning. He's still growing as an actor.
It's also something we've talked about where Tom Cruise became a movie star in an age where movie star meant movie star.
Coppola, he worked with Coppola.
Yeah, and now movie star is like a different thing. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean the same thing.
Yeah.
And the movie industry is so different, and the
Yeah.
audience is so different. So if Glenn Powell, was in, was born.
Yeah, if he was 30 years ago.
Yeah,
he'd
it's like
be-
if it was in the 80s, he'd be in the Tom Cruise
Yeah.
level. But if he was before that, he'd be like a Paul Newman or a Robert Redford. So
He-
it's like
he
he
could
does
easily-
have that classic.
he could easily.
But now in this day and age, it's like, who is he? Where does he fit in?
He could have easily been Christian Bale back in the day.
Maybe.
In those kind of
I don't think he has
roles.
that. Yeah, I mean,
Maybe not as
He's
good,
not as menacing.
but yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I think Christian Bale is like really,
has that
an example
aesthetic,
of like
yeah.
a really method sort
Yeah.
of fantastic actor who also became a sort of big action star
Yeah.
because of Batman and stuff.
But he has that kind of visual aesthetic about him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But I kind of I didn't give this a high rating on Letterboxd, but I did like it in the sense that
So
the film.
So let's talk about what the film is.
Yeah, I was
first.
gonna say that the screenplay is about a man whose mother gets disowned by a billionaire, whatever, a
Yeah.
rich man, a rich tycoon.
it's a very
gentleman.
rich family.
And so they grow up not poor, but not as rich as he wants.
Oh,
and
they grow up pretty
the
poor.
the mother falls in love with someone who's like not a commoner.
yeah.
A normie.
Yeah. And so the father she gets
Yeah.
pregnant and the father disowns her,
Disowns.
and so she no longer gets the inheritance that she's,
Or-
owed. And
or any assistance.
yeah, he cuts her off from the family, and now the son is no longer heir to
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
fortune. And then he grows up learning, that he's part of the line and that he technically should get a piece of that pie. But obviously he's an outsider, and
He's at the bottom of the tree.
the
yeah.
family doesn't want
Yeah.
anything to do with him. And then and as Callum was saying, like the plot is he's now older and he wants to be successful, and he he's in love with this rich girl who's just kind of like only interested in him if he's wealthy. And so he kind of like, well, what if I just kill off all the other relatives?
But there's also like a stipulation
Mm.
that like if you're the last one surviving, you inherit everything.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
so if he kills off
Yeah.
all the other relatives that would inherit his grandfather's fortune, then he will be the sole heir. So it's kind of like a black comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd say
yeah.
it's a comedy.
Where he's like bumping off all these rich, douchebags. And yeah, I think so. My biggest issue, I don't even know how to approach it. So it's actually a remake of a 1949 film, Kind Hearts and Coronets, which is a classic, excellent movie. Now, in the marketing for How to Make a Killing, or in the press release and stuff, everyone keeps saying it's a loose remake, which it is because it's updated to modern times, and it's not a shot-for-shot remake. It's not exactly the same, and it goes from England instead of old 1940s England. It's now the modern day New York or whatever. But I think loose is not the right word. I think it is an actually pretty close approximation of the original movie. And I think that's a problem. One, because remakes, who needs them? But two, I was like, I think as the movie goes on and where it ends up, I was like, oh, this would have been actually better if they kind of ignored the original and just took that main premise, which I thought when people were saying it's a loose remake, I thought that's what they meant. But in reality, if you study both the films, the beats are quite similar and the ending is quite similar, but it doesn't work in this context in How to Make a Killing.
I wasn't 100% sold on the ending.
Yeah, I didn't think the ending was very good, and I think it would have been better if it just kind of ignored the original and just took that main premise of the killings and then went in a completely different direction. Because there were so many points in this film where I was like, this would be really interesting if he went this way or if he just stopped and did something else. But because of the original film and that's how the story goes, it's like they kind of just kept going along, and I was just like, oh, there's nothing really.
Yeah. Well, so my problem was, like I said, I found the screenplay to be really weak.
Yeah.
But I will say, I want to mention some positives first. I did like the acting. I thought the acting was fine.
The cast is fine, yeah.
Yeah. The location scouting was really good. I actually thought the set pieces were kind of interesting. They were fun to watch on screen. The bank looked really nice. That whole stuff looked great.
Yeah.
The costume design looked really great. I liked the suits that the people were wearing and just like the general vibe of the different characters. Everyone was a little different. The score was fine. It was okay. It was a little forgettable, but
I don't even remember it. Yeah.
And it did have. I wasn't bored. It did have that energy where it did keep its pace.
Yeah,
but
that's fair enough.
Like I said, my problem is that I wasn't invested in the characters. I wasn't invested in the story. I thought it was really interesting where you get to about halfway, and he gets an out.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, now I have to choose. Do I want to continue down this path, or do I want to use this opportunity I've been given to change my own direction and maybe earn some money in a more authentic way by taking advantage of the hospitality offered to me by my family, such as it is. And I thought that was a really interesting idea, and I think that they should have leaned into that a lot more.
And
I think that should have been the second half of the movie is grappling with this, what do I do? How much can I get away with?
Yeah.
And then maybe end the movie with many years later.
Yeah.
And then see how the chips are falling.
Well, this is why I think them being too beholden to the original is the problem, because like you said, it's like you can see where they maybe should have gone, or several different areas avenues they could have taken, and they didn't. And yeah, I think it's an issue.
I also think that he has Beckett has no remorse pretty much at all. He's just a killing machine. And he should have been freaking out about how he's become a murderer.
You know a problem I have with the movie, and it's a problem I also have with the other movie we're going to talk to tonight, and it's a problem we've had with movies in general over the last few years, is I feel like they're trying too hard to make the main character nice. And so it's like, yes, he's killing them, but it's always like accidental. Like he goes to kill them, but then something happens where it's like, or it's like...
No, there's a scene in like a sauna that's pretty on purpose.
Yeah. But I feel like they're always trying to pull him back from going too far. And then like the whole end bit is like completely out of his. Yeah. So it's like it never goes too dark like it should, and it's not light enough and goofy enough to be like, haha, he's just kind of. I also think even though it is a like dark comedy or whatever, it's not very funny.
No,
I think
I didn't laugh once.
The original is a 1949 like black and white British film, and I was actually laughing at that, whereas this one I didn't laugh.
No, it wasn't funny.
I
think that the narration doesn't help.
Oh yeah, you know my stance on that.
I'm actually pretty lenient on narration.
Yeah.
If it can serve its purpose, fine. There are movies where it does it well. This is not one of them.
No.
It's like, because I don't need. We should be seeing his thoughts play out on screen,
Yeah.
not necessarily him like, oh, I didn't know it would go like that. Oh,
Yeah.
like that's not necessary.
Especially like in the movie where he has to plan and execute like the perfect murders, plural. It does like skip a lot, and there's not a lot of tension.
No.
And because all the billionaire relatives are mostly bad people, except for maybe one, I can't remember. Yeah, but it's just like I don't really care.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, the I didn't feel invested.
Yeah.
Topher Grace's character, I think he did a great job.
Yeah.
He was my favorite part of the movie. It was that sequence with Topher Grace.
Yeah.
Just because Topher Grace he's so great at playing interesting characters, and that stuff with the sword was really good. I liked that a lot.
Mm.
And then you got the fake out where you think he's going to be caught, but then he thinks it's something completely else.
Something different. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's a shame because there was potential. And the writer-director, John Patton Ford, his first film before this one.
John Ford. The director, John
Ford. No, yeah, it's John Ford resurrected from the dead. No, John Patton Ford, his first film before this one was Emily the Criminal, which is actually a really good movie. And so he's one of those like promising kind of indie directors who's like now got a bigger sort of more mainstream movie.
That's also a curse which we've talked about,
exactly,
right? The interesting indie director now finds himself in a studio position where he has no authority or control.
But it's like a bigger budget. He's got more responsibility and probably more cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And even though I think this was a project he wanted to do, I think it comes out a lot more
studio friendly.
Yeah.
Look, the direction itself isn't terrible.
No, it's not.
It's one of those things where, like I said, on paper, I should like this film.
Yeah.
It's just the screenplay is so bad, it drags everything else down with it.
It's just a little bland.
Yeah, and
like at the end, I was just like, you know what?
The editing's not great.
Especially in this day and age. Like, not every movie has to have a grand message or has to, change the world. But especially in this day and age, like when a movie like this about like super rich people and like a guy who's, I guess, disadvantaged a little bit, but he's actually part of the rich family if you think about it, and he wants his piece of the pie, and
he's just as bad as them.
Yeah, it's just like, and at the end of it, I was like, this is a really like toothless, unnecessary movie, especially for the time we're in. And I can just switch my brain off and go like, yeah, it's fine entertainment. But because it wasn't that good, I was just kind of like, you know what? Did we really need to spend all the money and time on this when you could have made something a lot more either biting and satirical?
What was this movie's budget?
I think
it's a decent looking, like it's not a little movie.
But it's one of those
and
things
it's got a lot
where
of like stars in it.
As you said, instead of doing this remake, make 3 or 4 cheaper, lower budget, interesting movies.
And it didn't have to be a remake because they've already. They've already, it's not the same title. It's not like they're going off of brand name recognition.
Give us $100 million and we'll start the Australian A24.
Hell yeah.
Look, I understand where you're coming from, but it's like one of the things where even though they're rich and it's like that thing is like, let's just kill them. I think that it'll be a more interesting film if you had to grapple with the consequences of killing another human being.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Like make it psychologically dark, where it's like, he's not Patrick Bateman or whatever from American Psycho. Patrick Bateman.
Yeah.
It's like when after he kills the first person, which is kind of an accident. It's like he should be like, oh my god. And then maybe he has to become a harder person to continue on.
But that's what I'm saying is.
It's just like, oh, okay, that was easy. I'll do the next one.
Yeah, you can go in different directions, and I don't think it.
Yeah, I take it back. The budget for this movie was only 15.
That's pretty small.
That's pretty small. Yeah.
So they did a good job. I mean, most of it just takes place in rooms and.
Yeah, but it looked good for
and it's got it's got like a lot of A-list sort of actors.
Also, a fun fact that we'll appreciate here in the studio: the original leads were going to be Shia LaBeouf and Mel Gibson.
That's
an interesting
very
movie.
different movie.
I think that would have been way better.
That would have been darker and more unhinged.
That probably would have been worse and better at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, both of them are good actors, though.
I mean, yeah, but they could go full unhinged and...
Well,
I think that the behind the scenes would be more interesting than the film, though.
It depends what
They
year
when they're filming in the prison scene, he's really in prison. They're just filming around it.
Yeah,
They're
it's
just like, do the prison scenes now before we bail him out.
It's actually a documentary. Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
like-
I think Glenn Powell's too nice for the role. Like you're saying, like not nice, but
You know what?
he's not a man who carries with him a heavy weight.
Yeah.
He's very much just he's an action star.
I haven't seen.
He's
all-
like a born in a lab action
Yeah,
star.
I haven't seen all these movies, but we watched Running Man recently, and it was like that was like a movie where it's like should have been darker, and he, it should have been played more straight, and he should have been more mean.
Is it one of those
And-
things where when they're casting him for a movie, they're too scared to make him too evil because people? It's like
I think that's part of it.
The public consensus
Yeah.
is that he's a likable guy.
Yeah, he's
and
a
he should
movie
be
star,
smiling.
and-
Yeah.
And it's also like I was saying,
No,
it's
the
like
people
this-
yearn. The people yearn for Tom Cruise in Collateral.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like this is an example of like you get a more mainstream sort of Hollywood wider release movie with some stars and a bit of polish, and all of a sudden it's just like all the edge is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean even in do you guys remember that Hitman movie
Yes,
that he
I was
was
thinking
in?
about that just now.
Which everyone was like going crazy about, but
What,
I didn't
the video
really
game
like.
adaptation?
No. The Glenn Powell one where he's the,
He has
Oh,
to
yeah.
pretend to be the
where he
Hitman.
goes undercover as
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and he's like
Yeah, yeah,
dresses
yeah.
up, and everyone's like, oh my god, Glenn Powell's amazing. He does all this character work, and I'm like,
It was fine,
I didn't
yeah.
really like that movie. I don't think it was,
It was
that
okay.
good.
I liked it.
And I think this How to Make a Killing is a similar example of like, yeah, Glenn Powell just sort of
Coasts along.
coasting along and like and there's murders and
He
whatever
can-
and crime, but I was like, I don't care about anything that's going on, and I don't think it works.
Have you seen Chad Powers?
No, that's another thing where he wears funny makeup. It's
Yeah,
like a
that-
thing for him.
Yeah, it's becoming a thing for him, and I hope he doesn't get trapped in it.
Yeah.
But he's probably better in that because it's a completely different personality when he puts on the wig. He's like a southerner, but it looks kind of goofy still.
Yeah.
He needs
don't
to
know.
play some drama. He needs to do dramas. I want to see him do some proper dramas, because I feel like he's in a not a
Yeah.
not a,
But he's
a
in a
rut.
he's in a bubble.
Yeah, not a rut,
mean-
but he's getting money while it's good, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's great. But
At the moment he's in his mainstream sort of Hollywood leading man. But yeah, someone needs to
see, we need to send him back to the 90s, and he needs to do some legal thrillers.
Yeah, someone like some really like good director needs to get a hold of him and being like, let's make
You know what he needs? He needs to be in Primal Fear as
something
the
like
as
that.
the villain.
Which
Let's make a movie where you suffer, Glenn.
yeah, and again, like we live now in like I was saying before, the industry is different, like the audience is different, movies are just different now. So yeah, eventually I'm sure he'll work with a great director and make a sort of Oscar-y drama. But yeah, he needs to be in something a bit darker and weirder, maybe.
Look, now that Tom Cruise is out of his Mission Impossible kind of prison, maybe he'll enlist Glenn into something he's doing that's more interesting because the man himself is
Well-
doing some more interesting movies.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we'll see. Hopefully,
but he
a
shouldn't
rising
need
tide
to.
lifts all boats.
Yeah, but he shouldn't need Tom
No.
Cruise to be his.
A rising plane.
That's it. A flying plane
Flying
lifts
plane.
all parachutists. Don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, but I think, and also there's also nothing wrong with him just being a big
No.
action mainstream Hollywood movie star.
I like seeing him on the big
But
screen.
unfortunately, most movies that come out now aren't very good,
No.
and he just happens to be in a few of these not good.
This is one of those
movies.
things where it's like Glenn Powell can be the Paramount, the Warner Brothers kind of $100 million movie star that they want him to be. Or he can go down to A24 and make some real good movies
Well, he can.
that cost nothing. Or he can do both.
He can do, but a lot of actors do the one for you, one for me sort
But
of thing.
I feel like there's almost no in between anymore. It's kind of like if you're going on one of the big pictures, you're getting a big picture, right? You're getting a big theatrical release picture for the most part, or you're going to the micro budget studios. And it's like, it's...
No, I think there are actors who bounce between.
No, they do, but there's no in-between kind of studio that's willing to take risks.
Oh, I see what you mean.
There's no big studio now that was willing to take the risk. If you're going to the cinemas, you're seeing something that's probably not going to be amazing unless you're Nolan or Scorsese or Spielberg,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we've talked about how they don't make the mid-budget
I think
legal
that's...
thrillers and stuff anymore. I mean, there are, A24 is getting bigger and it's becoming sort of a
But my risk is will A24 eventually become part of the problem when they get too big.
Well, that's the kind of, we've already seen that happen because now
Yeah.
they're just churning out movies, and it's like a lot of they used to have less movies.
It's the Blumhouse. Blumhouse used to be exciting when they started, and now it's kind of just like, it's another
just
Blum.
churning out
It's
crap
another
and-
PG-13 horror movie.
Yeah.
Thumbs up, guys.
Yeah, everyone becomes a
That being said,
shadow of
What
their
is it? You
former
live long
self.
enough. If you
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
there
yeah.
long
enough to
enough.
come
Yeah.
it's also possible that maybe there's just there when Glenn Powell was getting all these offers, there just wasn't a lot of great scripts being floated around.
It's also like if you're an actor and he's been in movies for a long time since he was a kid, and over the last few years he's like gotten all these high profile mainstream Hollywood leading roles. Of course you just be like, I'm getting everything. I'm getting paid and I'm being in movies. I'm a movie star. So of course he'll just keep, and that's good on him. But yeah, in terms of the movie itself and the storytelling and stuff, it's like a lot of this stuff isn't that great.
It's incredibly average.
And I think we're just saying we would like him to try something a bit weird, and I'm sure eventually he will get into a sort of...
I just hope he doesn't wait until he ages out of being the movie star and then he goes to weird. I want to see some prime Glenn Powell weirdness.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll have a reconnaissance of his own. Powell-oniscence?
You look at Tom Cruise.
Glenn-oniscence?
Again, to bring up Tom Cruise because they're, kind of connected.
Yeah.
How old was he when he did Collateral? And that was out of his...
Tom Cruise did some
But
weird
Tom
shit
Cruise has
before.
been... Yeah, I mean, he'd mostly done dramas.
Vanilla Sky?
I'm talking about like
weird?
he sadly became a villain, and there aren't many movies where Tom Cruise is like the villain. Do you know what I mean? So it's like just because he gets older doesn't mean Glenn Powell could potentially just age out of that movie star thing. It's like you look at George Clooney. George Clooney's a bit older now, in my opinion.
Much older, yeah.
He's still in film star.
Oh, he'll always be.
He will be the last remaining film star.
Yeah, you can't...
You look at Sean Connery was a film star in every movie he was in until the end.
Yeah, I mean, but
there are some interesting films in there.
Yeah, I mean, but that's movie stars, like, they age and they, I mean, some of them sort of taper off and sort of lose their luster, but a lot of them just keep going and make movies way up until the end. And
Elliot Gould is still my hero.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's always like a big deal when you have one of those classic movie stars in your movie. Ed Harris is in this How to Make a Killing, so that's an example.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, unfortunately, the movie, at least for me, I would probably give it 2.5 stars out of 5.
I gave it 3. I thought it was relatively competently done, but it just wasn't interesting.
I gave it 2.5 stars, James.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I was like, look, it wasn't bad, and I can appreciate parts of it, but I think the director can do better, and I think it was just kind of like...
Just a bad script.
Yeah, why?
They happen. It's just a bad script. So
yeah,
bounce back next time.
It felt... I will say one thing. Watching it, I think Glenn Powell and Jessica Henwick, who plays his love interest, have really good chemistry. And I was like, they should have just made a rom-com. Like maybe like a crime caper rom-com.
I remember rom-coms.
Yeah. Either just a straight rom-com or like a crime...
He's perfect rom-com bait.
Yeah.
But like real rom-coms, not like the rom-coms we get these days.
He was in that Sydney Sweeney movie, which I didn't see, but apparently was terrible. But yeah,
I don't even know what
think
you're talking about.
It was like you. They're all you.
Yeah.
You and not you and me,
and it's
another you.
It's set in New York in the fall, or they go to Italy.
No, this one was in Australia, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they showed it in
mind.
Australia.
Pardon me.
I never saw it.
I feel like movies that come out, especially when the studios push for a wide release, it's like a movie like this, like you can have some more risky elements in a movie.
Especially for 15 mil, you think
15 mil, like take some risks.
maybe it's also. I think this is something we've talked about.
Everything
before.
has to be for the kids as well. Like, it's,
Yeah.
there's
I
that
mean, this
element
one
of it.
wasn't
No,
really.
it's pretty bloodless actually.
No,
when
but
you
it's
think
still
about it.
safe.
It's not
It's
very
an
offensive.
M15 film.
You don't
Yeah.
really see much violence. It's
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, where it's not only the studio who comes in and makes too many cooks and executives and producers and whatever, and mandates change and whatever, or strongly suggests it.
yeah.
But I think it's also filmmakers themselves who, and I'm just talking about my ass because I've never made a Hollywood movie.
That's all we do
But
here, James. Don't
yeah,
worry.
but I think filmmakers themselves sort of start to censor themselves, even though maybe they don't have to.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, oh, if I want to make this a successful
I
mainstream
have to appeal
movie,
to X, Y, and Z.
yeah, and
There's
even
also
though
the-
the producers are on my side and they're giving me final cut, which this is just an example, I don't,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
never get final cut, but it's like, and they're really faithful in my vision. I don't want to overstep my bounds, so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna.
Look,
Yeah,
this would have been a very different movie if there actually was more graphic violence. You know what I mean? It's
and that's another
Yeah.
direction they could have gone. They could have
Yeah.
really played it up in that way. They could have.
He tried like
Should have
could
been
have
like
been
a horror.
slapstick.
Yeah,
It
it
could
could
have
have
been
been like a
horror.
horror
The kills should have
comedy.
been like horror movie kills.
It could
like
have.
those
Yeah.
the two sides of
It's
Glenn
one
Powell
of
in the
those-
movie where he's like the serial killer side, and then he's trying to play the nice guy. That
It's-
could have been more interesting.
It's one of those
Yeah.
movies where any other
Yeah.
any other option, you're like, that would have been more interesting.
Yeah.
And not to say this is awful or anything, but it is one of those things where it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, I was like, they really shouldn't.
Yeah.
They really should have
I think
gone in a different direction
the-
or done something else
I
completely.
think it had a great premise, but tonally was a bit. They could have gone
Yeah.
in a
Yeah,
different way, and it
yeah.
would have been a better film.
yeah, yeah.
We might go to a very quick break, and we'll be back with more right after these quick messages. You are back on 98.9 Northwest FM. This is the Tuesday Review. Having just finished our Pow Wow, we're going to move on to another movie that I really enjoyed, Callum really enjoyed, but James thought was a bit mid.
Yes, very mid.
Crime 101, which has a very terrible title, and let's start there.
Okay.
I've-
Actually, out of all the things, the title is, not
but
its problem.
This is a thing that I like that bothers me. Like, all of these good movies come out, and what is Hollywood's problem with adventurous, more interesting titles?
Well, it's the marketing. It's like,
But
if
Crime 101, what does that even mean?
Well, I thought because when it's like Biology 101, it's like
Yeah, but-
the introductory.
But the movie's not about that.
Yeah, but that's what I thought. When you
Yeah.
make a movie like that, Crime 101, you think, oh, this is going to be about maybe a criminal who is like
Here's
like
how you do
mentoring.
it, yeah.
It's like mentoring, or like some sort
or
of
an investigator who has to go to the books to figure out.
yeah.
That would be more
yeah.
appropriate.
Yeah. Instead, what happens in the movie is that the title refers to the 101 freeway in LA. So I'm like,
of course, duh.
yeah, which I mean,
Which is
it's
not apparent to anyone.
It's not the worst title, but it's also not particularly.
It's not good. Be more adventurous
good.
with the title. Like,
Should
you're
be
not-
called Heist 101 anyway, or
You're-
Heist on the 101.
You're not
Mm,
luring.
I don't
too-
know.
Yeah.
You're not luring me in with a movie title as generic and bland as Crime
Yeah.
101.
It feels like exactly it's too generic. It's I don't.
Yeah. Instead of Heat, well, this movie takes a lot from Heat. So instead
Yeah.
of Heat, it should have be called Lukewarm because
Warm,
that's
just warm. Yeah, you got to keep that simple.
But you get where I'm coming from. I'm like, you're trying to they put a lot of money into marketing, and the title is just shit.
I think a lot
Yeah.
of like I said, a lot of movies is like they have a cool title, but then the marketing execs or whatever freak out and they're like, no, we just need something boring and safe to market, and then they change the title, and then you hear about the original title. I'm like, that's awesome. But-
Why do they do this
yeah.
to us?
Although I was talking to someone a long time ago, like, what's the best movie with the worst title? Because most good movies have good titles, and most bad movies have. There are some bad movies that have awesome titles, but most bad movies have bad titles.
I don't know. If they're listening at home, let us know at 0447777989. What's a great movie with a shit title?
Yeah.
Jaws isn't great.
No, Jaws is a fantastic.
Jaws
name.
is a good
ti-
title.
the-
No, Jaws
The
is a good title.
That's a great title,
Because it's...
especially when you compare it, pair it with the iconography of the poster.
Yeah, I guess
It's
so.
even better.
Yeah, Jaws is a good title.
Yeah. Now
Spielberg's pretty good with titles overall. Well,
Uh,
well,
Well, look, we could spend all night
Yeah,
going
anyway.
through good movies and trying to see
Yeah.
how good or bad their title is.
300th episode idea.
Maybe we'll talk about it off air. Yeah, so Crime 101 is a crime drama. I would hesitate to call it a crime thriller because I was not thrilled, but you guys may disagree.
It has elements of a thriller.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be a thriller, but I thought in terms of how it was executed, I was not as thrilled as maybe
it's
it intended me to be.
Closer to a crime drama, I'll give you that.
I think similarly to the How to Make a Killing and that discussion that we just had, this was written and directed by Bart Layton, whose previous movie was American Animals, which I thought was really good. That's another crime like heist movie that like is based on a true story, and it like combines like narrative, traditional film, but also there's like a documentary, like real element to it, and they kind of blend together. And I thought it was a great movie. And so like with John Patton Ford doing Emily the Criminal, and then that being really interesting, and then How to Make a Killing not being as good, this is another case of a director who made a sort of smaller indie kind of crime movie, and then his next movie is a bit more of a polished mainstream Hollywood movie, and it's not as good. So I think it's
everybody's got to get their bag though.
Yeah, it's the same sort of problem we were just discussing, where it's like whether it's too many cooks in the kitchen in terms of executives and you know Hollywood producers, or whether it's just the filmmaker like not losing confidence, but wanting to be more sort of mainstream and safe.
This definitely is much more in the ballpark of I have to please the studio and maybe list their notes, because this was a $90 million movie.
Yeah.
Made by Paramount, assumedly, or MGM.
I can't remember.
Amazon film, so maybe MGM.
Yeah, Amazon. Yeah, would be because I think they.
Amazon MGM.
Yeah.
So it's a major studio film. It got a theatrical release, $90 million budget. So they're probably big cast.
Yeah,
Stacked cast. Yeah.
So Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Halle Berry, Barry Kay, because I'm always not sure how to say his last name.
Barry Keoghan.
Keoghan, yes.
Yeah.
Barry Kay in another. He's pretty good in this.
He's good in everything.
Yeah.
he's so good.
Monica Barbaro, Nick Nolte, Jennifer Jason Leigh. So
yeah,
the cast is pretty stacked. The budget's high, so the pressure is on, assumedly, to make this a movie that hits all the boxes.
And it's also a sort of movie that's not really made mainstream anymore, which is the sort of crime thriller, Heat-esque type of movie that you don't get in mainstream cinemas anymore.
So before we go on to slander this film,
well, I will, but I don't know.
We'll start just real quick with the intro. It's about two central characters, one being a criminal played by Chris Hemsworth, who is a part of a criminal underground organization who
jewel thieves.
They do heists.
I don't think he's an organizer. Like he's a lone wolf, but he works for like there's
he takes jobs from
Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte is his like handler who gives him the info and plans,
and then Mark Ruffalo plays the detective who's on the case trying to, no one else in the station believes in him and his vision for it.
Chris Hemsworth is doing all these jewel heists along the 101 freeway in LA, and he's trying to make enough money to get out of the game, so to speak. Yeah. And Mark Ruffalo is the detective who has noticed this pattern and is like, I want to catch this guy, but no one in the department takes him seriously.
All the other feds are like, but we've already pinned these crimes on other people, so don't take it away from us because
typical
numbers,
cop stuff of we don't actually want to do any work and we just want to clear it off our board.
So it's a pretty simple premise. It gets a little more complicated as things devolve into chaos. But I do want to say I appreciate this film for its limited use of green screen, presumably limited. It seemed very practical to me.
I will say that it looks... it's a decent looking movie, and considering most movies now look like garbage, and also even if they're set in LA, they're like shot in Atlanta or whatever, and it's kind of clear. Whereas this one, there were at least parts of it where I was like, this looks like it's actually shot in LA.
See, James, even a shit clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it looked nice. It seems to be shot on location. It seems to be limited green screen. There were actual car chases, which we don't get that much anymore. So it's like I did appreciate that tactile feeling that the movie gave me. It felt a lot more grounded than How to Make a Killing. So it's like I did appreciate that. Hemsworth does his best with the accent.
He's
better
fine.
than Barry Kay's. Barry Kay slipped a few times. I noticed when I was watching it, but he can't help it. He's got a strong one.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say like Irish and American is closer than Australian and American.
Yeah, they roll their R's, but the rest
There's
is a
more
lot
R.
different.
There's more
Yeah.
yeah.
But like again, I have similar feedback to How to Make a Killing, except I think the screenplay's better in this one. I did like the locations. I thought they looked nice. The costume design looked nice. The soundtrack on this one was actually really good.
Had some cool synthy.
Yeah, I really dug the soundtrack. The nighttime scenes looked okay. Like it. Yeah, I think it just worked a lot better as not obviously the different stories, very different stories, but I think that the execution in this movie was a lot better than in How to Make a Killing.
Okay.
I found the characters a little compelling. Even Davis. Davis, yeah, that's his surname.
Chris Hemsworth's character Davis. Yeah.
Even though his character was a bit thin.
I think Chris Hemsworth's character... Yeah, I don't think it's Chris Hemsworth's fault in this movie. I think his character's a bit thin, but he's kind of
I think
just
most of the characters
he's
are
a bit
pretty
whatever.
thin.
Mark Ruffalo is like depressed, but I'm not sure if that's the character or the man. He just comes with that energy.
His method, yeah.
he's just really depressed. He's like, no, my cop's depressed, man. Why? Because I'm going to do some shit.
Even Hemsworth's performance, I think, was pretty interesting because he played it relatively straight. He played it somber.
There's one element of the movie that I found interesting, and maybe we'll go into why I don't think the movie works. But this part was interesting where, so Chris Hemsworth's trying to get out the game, make enough money. He's met this girl played by Monica Barbero. Is that her name?
Yeah,
yeah, and she...
Maya.
Yeah, and she doesn't know what he does for a living, and so he's keeping it secret. And... he's like really awkward with her, I guess, because he's been a criminal for so long, and there's a hint to his.
I think it's kind of alluded to that he has a very private life, and he doesn't really associate with anyone.
He's a loner, He's a lone wolf.
It's like he's very reserved and quiet, and he doesn't really ask her any questions or offer anything about himself, but he likes her and she likes him, and I was like, that's interesting, but I don't think it really worked, and I don't think it really played out well. On the other hand, while he's doing like heists, he's trying to get information from Halle Berry's character, who's like a high-end insurance salesman or salesperson. And when he's interacting with her, he's like really smooth, like cool guy.
That's a character.
And that's character. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting dynamic.
He's on the job.
Yeah. But again, I don't think any of this really works or plays out well in the end, especially because the movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I read a comment online, which I'm going to paraphrase, which was something like, this felt, Crime 101, the movie, like it felt like it wanted to be either a like 3-hour crime epic or a 90-minute like tight thriller. And it ended up being sort of in this weird spot in between. And I really agree with that.
I'll give you that.
Watching the movie, I was like, I feel like there's a lot that was left on the cutting room floor. A lot of the stuff with the relationships between the characters. I felt like a lot of that stuff was cut out or, missing or whatever. But then other times I was like, and it should have been longer. But then other times I was like, this wants to be, sometimes it was like, oh, it wants to be heat and really long and epic. And other times I was like, this wants to be drive and really like lean and mean and tight and focused. And it ends up being this weird middle ground that it doesn't really work.
I really liked it. I would have liked to have seen more between Davis, or whatever Chris Hemsworth's character is, and Barry Kay's character.
Yeah, like
because there's hints in this movie where they obviously they know each other. They work for the same organization. Barry Kay.
I don't know if they know each other. Yeah,
well, they take some jobs from the same handler.
Yeah, they're connected in that way, but I don't think they've worked together.
But they kind of know each other to look at each other. right?
Do they?
They do.
I thought he just knew him because he was a weird guy
Yeah.
with a motorcycle following him
I'm
around.
reckon?
Yeah.
I don't think he knew him at all. I think
Okay.
that they're all lone wolves working for the same
Yeah.
or getting jobs from the same handler.
Yeah.
But I think that their relationship, for lack of a better term, is the most interesting in the film
Mm-hmm.
because the minute they get on each other's radar, it's on. And there's this thing where Davis is, of course, the non-violent guy, the guy who's all about getting the goods
Yeah.
and moving on. He's a criminal, but he doesn't hold himself as like a murderer. He's not like Barry Kay's character, where Barry Kay will do what it takes at any cost.
Yeah.
And
Barry,
when those
Barry
two,
Keoghan's character is a bit of a psycho.
yeah,
like,
when those two clash, it's really interesting because you have two really great actors, Chris Hemsworth and Barry Keoghan, kind of giving it this attempt at like a criminal Heat. That's what I think this movie should have been in a way, like a criminal version of Heat, where it's like maybe Davis trying to track down.
But then you also have the Al Pacino cop character, which is Mark Ruffalo. So
Yeah, like
you've
leave
already
Ruffalo
got
out
that
of it.
element.
Leave Ruffalo out of it.
Yeah.
Should have just been a straight up crime film about two criminals trying to get the diamonds.
That could have worked. Yeah.
But like you got like he drives his old fashioned car, the Americana style car, and you got Barry Kay on the motorcycle, and like again like they're oil and water, and I think that's a really interesting dichotomy for the film.
Yeah.
And I think that as much as I like the film, like
Well,
Mark Ruffalo's character is pretty vanilla for what we get.
I hate
compared to Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Again, we shouldn't be comparing it to Heat.
I hate to be
everyone's
that guy.
everyone's vanilla when you put them aside Al
Yeah,
Pacino, especially
when
back
you-
in the
and
early
De Niro,
90s.
yeah.
Like
any crime movie is vanilla when you put against Heat. But like, I hate to be that guy as well. Well, not really, because I do this all the time. But it's like, this is a perfect example of like, oh, it's called Crime 101, right? 101 in terms of the introductory lecture to the, okay, why isn't it, well, it should be about Chris Hemsworth is a experienced jewel thief who takes Barry Keoghan, who's like the young whippersnapper, under his wing.
and tries to teach him.
And Hemsworth is like, this is how you do it. You're non-violent. You sneak in, you sneak out. And Keoghan is like, no, I want to smash and grab and kill and shoot. And that could have been maybe the dynamic. That's a more interesting movie right there.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, so I do want to say, for all everything James is saying, I would say is objectively correct. But I do like this film, and I gave it 4 stars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did. I
I
really
gave
liked
it
it.
4 as well. I really
Oh,
liked
wow.
it.
I gave it 2.5.
No, I'd watch it again. You know what I mean? It's one
Yeah.
of those things where I think that the performances are so good that even the failings of the screenplay, it is what it is. The soundtrack's good, the locations are good, the driving sequences are cool. It's one of those things
So
where
it seems to be mostly practical.
you could take any part of it and then tear it to pieces, but when in my opinion, you put the whole thing together, it's a pretty compelling film.
Sometimes you have the ugly child, and you're just like, but it's my ugly child. It's still 5-star. No.
But, I mean...
Look,
that's but it's
like
not
I said-
your like you don't have any
no.
investment in it. That's different. Like
I like the fact that Chris Hemsworth character lives in furnished apartments. It's like he just like you know what I mean like
Yeah.
and that's a point. There's a part in the movie where the love interest is like there's no photos of your family and he's like we don't have a close family.
yeah.
And you do get that interesting scene with the mother and the phone call.
Yeah.
And I'm like there should have been more of that in the film because
Exactly.
that connection he has to his roots is an interesting part of the film.
Yeah. Again, it's
I
like
think it could have been a good miniseries because like I said, I like this film, but there's so much going on in the lore and in the story itself that there are lots of interesting directions to go in.
it's like I said, it's like it should have been much longer and had more character stuff and relationship building and whatever, and maybe more psychology with like the cop trying to profile the thief and. Or it should just cut everything out and just being like car chases and
it should have been
heists.
2 separate films. One from Chris Hemsworth's perspective, which delves into Barry Keoghan's story, like them two, and then Ruffalo on the police
his
side trying to
partner.
track down.
Yeah.
But then you also have that subplot which doesn't get mentioned again after the shooting that occurs and the separate stories. So you could
That's
have
another thing, yeah. There's like all this stuff, like his partner just disappears. There's a cop shooting that just doesn't go anywhere.
yeah.
Halle Berry's character kind of disappears at a certain point, and then she comes back.
I think maybe you're right. I think maybe there's some stuff left on the cutting
feels
room
like there was
floor,
just
yeah.
a
Wouldn't that
lot
be
missing.
interesting
Yeah.
if there was like 2 separate films that deal with the same events?
That would be cool.
So you could have time to actually express all these ideas and like really get all these interesting moments on screen and explored properly instead of having a bit half going on. Because I think that the reason Heat works is because the screenplay not only is everything great, but the screenplay's so good because it allows the actors to really get the character stuff going.
Yeah.
And you got that real great back and forth between everyone, not just Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Val Kilmer's character, of course, also shines. And no one gets time to do that in this film, even though I think they all do a great job. They just don't get that opportunity to really sink their teeth into it. The
characters just don't feel fleshed out or real in any meaningful way.
But it is, in my opinion, a step above most of the stuff that's available on streaming.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Which is why it's so why I gave it a good rating on Letterboxd, is because, like I said,
but I think
it feels real. The soundtrack's great. It looks great. It sounds great.
I think it still has that element though of like what we were just talking about, what I was just talking about with How to Make a Killing, where like at the end of it, I was like, oh, really? Like that's it? Like that was kind of toothless and not memorable or impactful. And yes, it looks a bit better than most, movies, and there's, it's a type of movie we don't get a lot in mainstream cinemas anymore. But even then, I was like, it feels a bit like. Do you remember last week we were talking about Scream 7? I was like, this is not a big budget, but a big.
To be Heat.
Yeah, it was like yeah, exactly. It's like it felt a bit like a COVID movie or a streaming.
Yeah.
I was like, what? You can tell they spent money on it, but it's like also like
that's one thing I'll
there's
give
something
it.
off about it.
There's not
And
that
I
many
think-
scenes with that many people involved.
Exactly,
at
like
once.
it's just we've hit the point now in how they make movies, and we've talked about it many times before, where even the sort of bigger budget, better looking movies just aren't like where they used to be back in the day, like where there'd be like lots of people on screen and big. They also do the thing where even though you can tell they're shooting in LA or on location, and you can appreciate that, they do the typical modern day shallow focus cinematography where all the close-ups of like, it's like all close-ups and it's all like the main characters, and then everything behind them is just blurred, so you can't really like you don't get that depth, that nice like tangible quality.
It kills me that shallow focus has become the norm.
Yeah, and it makes everything look cheap, even though I can sort of tell they're in a real place and they spent money. It's like, but also it just looks like a COVID or a Netflix movie. So I think at the end of the day, it was like any effort they put in is undone. And I think it's a symptom just in general of the whole industry. Also similar to, How to Make a Killing, and like how I didn't like the ending there, and I didn't like the ending in Crime 101. Do you remember recently that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon movie on Netflix? What was it?
I never saw it.
The cop one, The Take?
No, yeah.
The something.
Yeah, the one,
The Rip.
The Rip.
Yeah. That was a very Netflixy movie, but
Yeah.
I remember Matt Damon or Affleck was talking about how like
You have to keep
now,
repeating the...
you have to keep repeating stuff, but also like now, when they used to make movies, you would start, the movie would escalate and would get bigger and bigger as it goes on, and then there would be a big climactic action scene. Whereas now, like, they're saying like Netflix wants you to do the biggest action scene at the start, get everything, get everyone engaged, and like, and basically just like, try to, and it's like, how do you keep that momentum, which then you have to start the plot and stuff, and it doesn't really work.
That's a good point, because I think, the start is kind of, the start scene is the big scene.
And I think, and especially the climax of this movie was really lackluster. Like, it's 3 or 4 people in a room, a couple of them have guns, and it's like, give me the diamonds, no, give me the cash, no, and then it's like something happens, and it's like, okay, the end. And I was like, that is not a climax to an epic crime drama. This felt like it could have been shot in any Netflix show, like no, and especially leading up to that point, even though it was like the big end heist with the highest stakes and the biggest take, he just walks into the hotel. Like there's no plan, there's no real planning or tension or like he almost gets caught, but he just he has no. I mean, because he has no team, there's no like Mission Impossible or Ocean's 11 type of that. But I mean, you don't need that. You just need a guy like trying to sneak in.
And because it's so digital, like I feel like if this was made in the 90s, you'd have like the wall with the photos and the string, and then he'd have like maybe the layout of the building.
Yeah, you don't have to do that cliche, but yeah, I get what you mean. Like there's
like there'd be a thought. You'd see his thought process on screen.
Yeah, like I mean, again, Heat, because this is to be Heat or whatever. But it's like in those old cop movies, you had like the detective walks into the police station. There's cops, there's criminals, there's like just people walking around. There's phones ringing. There's papers piled up on desks.
Like we recently
there's
watched,
people yelling across.
Recently watched All the President's Men, and to an extent the Post. But as they're walking through the Washington Post in both of these movies, as they're walking through the Washington Post movie, the office,
phones ringing.
There's phones ringing. There's people everywhere. Papers
and then it's
everywhere.
like there's
people
also
smoking.
there's also like in Crime 101, there's Mark Ruffalo, who's the detective. Then there's his partner, who gets like 2 lines and then disappears from the movie. And then I think there's Mark Ruffalo's boss, who's a bit of a dick. And that's like it. Yeah, there's some extras and some other small lines. Whereas I feel like in old cop movies, it's like, yes, you would have those 3 main characters, but the partner would probably stick around and have more part of the story. But also, you'd have more speaking roles, and you'd have more cops coming in and go, "Hey, Kowalski, give me a donut. Buzz off, you prick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, what's this? Oh, you're not on that 101 thing again, are you? And there'd be all these guys, and they'd be coming in and out, and then the camera would be moving around the office, and as they walk and talk, and then I'd be like, okay, let me take you aside, and you see.
It was a living world.
Yeah, a living, and you sort of see characters who you don't even know their names, but you see them in the background, and then later in the movie they show up again, and it's like, oh, that was that guy who was in the office. That was part of the Mark Ruffalo's team, but we don't really know who he is, but we know he's the cop on that team. Movies don't do that anymore.
No.
And this movie, I think, is a prime example of that. Just quickly, we're running out of time. Another big problem I have with movies now, and why action and crime movies don't really work a lot anymore, is like even the shooting scenes, because they don't use blanks or anything, the gun shoots off screen, so you just hear it and you don't see it. Or if you do lucky enough to see it,
CG,
it's just a CG muzzle flash, and there's no
CG
tangible
blood.
And exactly, like a main character gets shot at the end, and there's this big dramatic sort of pullback of the camera as they're bleeding, lying on the ground bleeding, and it's clearly just this PNG of a fake like digital gunshot, and I'm just like, this is the climax to your movie? Like, this should have been like an epic, like chest wound, like
that's it. Let's see some squibs.
Let's see squibs.
Let's see some squibs and some like remember everyone's wearing white shirts. Let's see some squibs and some like bread bursting out.
Remember when
like Godfather? You know when James Caan cops it.
Yeah, and not only did they used to shoot real guns and have squibs and explosions and stuff, but it's like, remember guys used to just have Uzis for no reason. That was awesome. Yeah. But also, like, I'm not saying this movie needed that, but you think of Collateral, which is mostly just pistols in terms of the shooting, and it's so visceral and so.
It's because Tom Cruise knows what he's doing.
It's Michael Mann, baby.
Yeah, and Tom Cruise doing that it's
the training.
The trivia,
the Mozambique drill.
The famous trivia. It's like his drawing was so good they used it in instruction videos.
Yeah. Well, the heat shootout. They use that for like
reloading under fire.
Training videos. But I mean, that's obviously a special occasion. But even like dumb 80s like B cop movies used to just have real shootouts, car chases. There's a more tangible, grounded, heavy quality. And even though this is like the slick 2026 crime version of that, it's still like it's just a nothing digital flat movie. So for me, I was just kind of disappointed. I was like, this is nothing.
Look, I enjoyed it. Callum enjoyed it, but I've been known to enjoy some slop.
Well, exactly. So
I'll take it on the chin.
Yeah.
That's about all the time we've got for tonight. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll be back next week. We're on some of the social media garbage at Tuesday Review AU. So that's Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Newsmask, Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok at Tuesday Review AU. Please rate us. Give us 5 stars.
Yes.
Let us know how you feel. Give us a review.
Ring the bell on YouTube and all that good stuff. Our 300th episode is coming up in 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah. If you have any fun ideas, let us know.
Yeah, we had a plan, but I don't think it's going to pan out. So we're just probably going to talk about it and then wing it. So, but if you're listening and you have an idea of something
we'll either
interesting
set
we
up the
can
phone
do.
in here and we'll just connect it to a phone and just start Instagram calling celebrities and see who picks up.
See.
That'll get us into trouble.
I'm not the I couldn't do it, but
Yeah,
I couldn't do like prank calls or anything.
No.
But yeah, that would be fun.
You're live on 98.9 Northwest FM.
Yeah. You want to talk about movies? Actually, we should call up a random person and be like, look, do you just want to talk about movies? Like, this is not a trick. We just want to know your opinion. Anyway, yeah, if you have any ideas or you just want to say hello, message us or whatever.
Yeah, we're on Letterboxd. I'm Nathan B_90.
I'm channeldrifter.
I'm Callum Tuesday.
And we'll be back next week. Hit us up if you have any ideas for our magical 300th episode. Otherwise, we'll figure something out. Adios, cousins.